Overwatch team just dropped the origin story for Juno. Let's have a look. New heroes are always an exciting piece of content for Overwatch though, and Juno might actually be one of the most exciting heroes that we have seen in a while. And I'm not only talking about the fact that she brings some new gameplay elements to Overwatch, it is actually the lore where she comes at a bit of a unique angle, almost literally. Ever since BlizzCon last year, we have known that Juno hails from the Mars colony, which was kinda new. We didn't even know there was a Mars colony. On the other hand, there was a moon colony where they had gorillas and a hamster. So, yeah. But anyways, it was intriguing. Now, around the mid-season update in Season 11, we suddenly saw this comet coming down on some of the maps, which had me immediately pointing at Juno, or Space Ranger as she was called back then. We actually got a first idea about her name a few weeks later when that comet, that turned out to be a landing pod, had touched down on Dorado, and we noticed that Liu Chang Interstellar was behind that whole Mars story, which for me personally was already a bit of a red flag. I discussed that in one of my previous videos. I don't trust these guys. However, the biggest surprise in that pod was a picture that was hanging on the inside, showing Mei and a woman. Through some old voice lines that have been in the game for quite a while, the community figured out that this is JJ, Mei's best friend back at college, and she also happened to work for Liu Chang. So at that point, everybody was convinced that Space Ranger was JJ, except for Mei. Well, I wasn't the only one. I did this video a few weeks ago in which I suggested that Space Ranger was actually JJ's daughter, since Mei had been frozen cryogenically for almost a decade, and Space Ranger looked way too young to be that friend. And in that same video I also suggested that JJ might actually be dead, or at least in trouble, and that Space Ranger was actually making her way back to Earth to get help from Mei. So that was my theory. Well, guess what? Earlier this week, the Overwatch team released a new comic, The Red Promise. That makes people from my generation nervous. That comic explained that JJ was part of a Liu Chang interstellar mission that was sent out to terraform Mars, which takes quite a while. And during that mission, JJ actually gave birth to her daughter, Juno, which turns out to be Space Ranger. Now, Juno being the only kid on the planet, she quickly became the daughter of the whole colony. Everybody was her uncle or aunt, and she tried to help out where she could, sometimes a little too much. Sadly, that terraforming experiment was causing some severe storms on Mars. They were in trouble. And on top of that, Liu Chang Interstellar had gone silent. The plan had been that they would send in another wave of colonists with supplies and whatnot. That had not happened, and they no longer replied to the Mars messages. Everybody at the colony feared the worst, and they didn't have the resources to send everybody back. They only had resources to send one person back. That turned out to be Juno, the daughter of the colony. They wanted to keep her safe. They wanted to save her because they knew they were all going to die. So they built this spacecraft and tried to send her off, but she wouldn't have it. She wanted to stay with her family on the planet that she was born on. She didn't want to leave them behind. In the end, Juno gave in because secretly she had this plan where she was going to get help on Earth and travel back to Mars to save her whole family. So she boarded the ship. And then this morning at Gamescom, they showed off the origin video for Juno. I'll link it below. But it just shows that one moment where she's in orbit, gathering her courage, saying her last goodbyes to her mother, and preparing to start this journey to a planet that she does not know at all. She has only heard stories from her family about Earth. It is a very, very sad story. Again. But it is very intriguing. Man, it really sucks that we don't have PvE anymore. Although I don't think this is necessarily something that they would explain in PvE. But I really want to know how this kind of pans out. How Juno is going to be looking for Mei. And how she's going to react to her cousins, the gorilla and the hamster from the moon. Now seriously, I'm extremely happy that they took the time to make this video. It looks amazing, and it proves yet again that they could do a whole series about Overwatch. There are so many storylines that need to be pushed forward or that need a conclusion, and I don't think that the in-game voice lines are going to cut it. There's too much going on. But that is something that I'll discuss in a future video, so make sure to subscribe. What did you think about the comic and the video? Let me know in the comments below. For now, however, that was it. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. It always helps me out. I also want to thank my patrons. I could not make these videos without you guys. You have my eternal gratitude. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out this video. Click it. But above all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye-bye.